A warm welcome and hello to all on my YouTube channel. So come, let's start today with a very new topic that is related to diary. And yes, you all are correct. We are today going to learn about who is Annie Frank and how diary is associated with her. So before we move on to our further discussion, you need to like, share and subscribe so that you can understand the concepts very clearly. Now, before we start the topic, now you may have come across so many Bollywood movies where we see that actors are writing diary, penning down their thoughts on a piece of paper. But the question arises, why do we do so? What will they gain from writing diary or writing their thoughts on a piece of paper? And what you particularly observe from those writing scenes? Maybe they want to communicate something, or it may also happen they want to write a letter or send an urgent piece of information to friends, to their families, to their acquaintances and whatnot. So yes, it generally helps them because they are writing and communicating their thoughts to the diary. Now, today we'll deal about a girl whose name is Annie Frank, and we'll study a little bit about her background. So this is the actual image of Annie Frank. We may also address her as Anne Frank, and she is considered as one of the most honorable writers who used to write diary at that point of time when there was World War II, when Germany was under the attacks of Nazi party, and when there was World War II going on in around 1940s. So she was into hiding period, and then she could not connect with anyone. She wasn't able to communicate with her friends, family, acquaintances. So what she basically did, she started writing a diary, and what the diary contained, come let's study, we'll know it further. So these two images which are there on the screen, you may pause this video for a moment and have a look at her handwriting, at her age, the innocence on her face. What are these telling you about? So before we proceed further, her name was Anne Frank and she was born on June 1929 and she died in 1945. So just calculate her age. She was so young as you all are. And she was a teenage Jewish girl. Her nationality was a Jewish girl, but since she was hiding into Germany, hiding from Nazis during the World War II for 7 years. She was hiding and she started living in a secret annex. Now, what is secret annex? Anne's father was an officer and he had a building. Like it's basically a sort of office. So there in that office, was hiding for so many days before she was discovered by someone, and then she was sent to concentration camps for the Nazis in 1945. Now, these images which are there on the screen are the original testimonials handwritten by Anne Frank. Just observe whatever she's trying to communicate, to tell through these diary writings. Maybe she just wants to, announce what's going on in her life, because those were the times of World War II when they were living in such awestruck tension. Awful tension was there, a dilemma was there, tyrant was there, murders and killings were there, right? Now, before we move on to our topic for today, we are just focusing on the prologue of Anne Frank. And what is a prologue? Prologue means basically a summary or a gist of the entire novel, chapter, poem or story. So the diary was gifted to Anne Frank on her 13th birthday, and chronicles of her events from this date were recorded in the diary handwritten. It was written by her. So she started writing diary in 12th June 1942, and final entry was made in the was there in the diary of August 1944. So for approximately 2 years she was writing in her diary, and it was eventually translated from his original Dutch language, because she was not just Jewish by religion. So so she used to write in Dutch languages and that diary became one of the world's most widely read books. Now imagine you're writing a diary, and after your death that diary becomes a historical document. Just imagine what would you feel like, right? So there have also been several films, television and productions based on that diary. And Anne Frank at her age of 13, became most renowned and discussed Holocaust victims of the World War II. Now, before we proceed further, you need to just analyze, enhance your cognitive thinking aspects, and discuss with yourself, with parents, with friends, with your teachers, the theme of alienation and isolation. Since you are students of class 10th, grade 10th, you must be knowing what is alien. Alien means you are being separated from the general public. You are alienated. And isolation means staying alone, isolating yourself. No one is trying to communicate with you. You are befriended. And reference to the Holocaust situation faced by Anne Frank. You need to put yourself in Anne Frank's shoes, in her shoes, and imagine the situation. What was it to be like? And now there's quiz time for all of you. Pause this video for a second and answer this quiz so it may help for your better understanding of the concept. Now, this is the start of the chapter. Since no one would understand, she started writing her diary from this chapter, and then she's writing about her diary. She has named her diary as Dearest Kitty. Now, you may pause or you may also refer to your textbooks what she has written. I'll be just providing you a deep insight about the summary of her entire diary or the expert which we are dealing in today's video. Now, Annie Frank was writing in her diary about her father, her mother, her sister Margaret, her grandmother, how she couldn't celebrate her birthday because they were into hiding, and why she loves her grandmother, why she loves her father. Her family was very near and dear to her. And so this, on the right hand side of the screen, we can see Annie Frank with her family. How she's looking happy and contented, isn't she? And yes, this is the entire full family photo of Anne Frank with her father, mother, and elder sister Margaret. Now pause for a moment and think that Anne Frank, who died at such a young age, expressed her love for the family through the tone and emotion in the passage. So do you feel somewhere this theme of love, what she was trying to convey? If yes, why do you feel so? You need to explore more on this part. She was of your age only, so she was writing her diary, and the readers can find the theme of love. So you need to explore more on this part, that what was the main reason, right? And there's an activity time so that you don't feel tired while reading the experts from her images from the diary. So you need to find absolute differences between what is a journal, log, or memoir. You can surf Google internet for this purpose, and then you need to write down this. This is basically for your evaluation purposes, right? Now, the second excerpt comes of her diary, and she named her diary as Dearest Kitty. Now she's calling it as a kitty. Kitty means maybe cat. Kitty means dear, we call it as a friend or something like that, right? So what we studied in the earlier part of the diary, she was mentioning about her love for family, friends, sister, father, mother, how she was hiding and she wasn't able to communicate with the rest of the world. Now she's coming back to her personal decisions, personal insights, and now she's talking about classroom. So yes, she was a girl, she used to attend school, and now she's just jotting down. You can just go through this paragraph and you can just find out that how she's jotting down all her personal experiences into this Dearest Kitty platform. Right now she's discussing over here about teacher Mr. Keesing and old Fauji, like she's referring her to as old Fauji, who used to teach her maths and who was always annoyed with her because she was a chatterbox. She used to talk a lot during the classes, and due to this bad habit of Anne Frank's, Mr. Keesing used to give a lot of homework. He used to pressurize her by giving her extreme level of hard difficult essays. If you are found chatting, if you are found talking, you need to complete this essay, right? We are glad that we don't have such teachers now who used to punish us, who are punishing us so hard, even in this virtual platform of learning, right? So we should be grateful for whatever we are. Now just imagine that Mr. Keesing, who teaches maths, was always annoyed because she talked so much. She was a chatterbox and he used to laugh her at her comments, right? And again, talking in the class, he punished V with another essay, which was titled Quack, Quack, Quack. Because she was always speaking. So Mr. Keesing gave her an essay about quack, 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 and she was supposed to write an elaborate essay. And this time Anne thought that, why have an idea? My best friend, who is very good in writing poetry, will write an essay for me in a poem form, and I'll present that essay to Mr. Keesing and I'll impress him. So her friend's name, which is there in the expert, is Sani, and she used to help her writing that essay in a poetic form, having rhymes and rhythms and emotions and poetic expressions as well. So the poem what she wrote about is also mentioned in the expert, which we'll just see for a few minutes. It was about a mother duck and a father swan and three baby ducklings who were bitten to death. Now just look at the humor which she was trying to convey through her poem to impress Mr. Keesing. Because they quacked too much. Oh my god. Now she's writing that because those baby ducks used to quack so much, so what did father duckling do? They like beat them so much that they all almost died. Luckily, the joke of and the humor to this poem was took very well by Mr. Keesing, and he took the joke right away. He read the ingenuity originality, means he thought that this is a genuine piece of work by Anne Frank, but actually it wasn't not. It was prepared by her friend Sani. And inventiveness of the poem according to class, and then added his own comments, and and since then Mr. Keesing wasn't angry on Annie, and neither did he assign her extra homework. So on the contrary, what he did, his attitude changed towards Annie, and then he used to always started making jokes on Annie's. So this was written by yours Annie. This expert is taken from a book called A Diary from a Young Girl / Anne Frank, and it's a slight adaptation. That means this is not the original document, there's a slight adaptation to it. Yes. Now again, quiz time to elaborate your level of understanding. So why do you think Mr. Keesing was a strict teacher? You need to answer this about for approx 50 words. Consider this question as an important question because this might come in your board exams as well, and you need to elaborate it as well. Now, why Mr. Keesing was annoyed with Annie? What did he ask her to do? We just discussed this for a couple of minutes, so I'm pretty sure you'll be able to answer this correctly. Right? Now explore. This brings up until here. This brings the end of the lesson, Anne Frank. Now, if there's a poem, there's a story, or there's a piece of extract, there must be grammar related to it, right? So here now we are talking about the grammar part, which is taken from this Anne Frank. Now, what is common in these type of words which are taken from the text? Headmistress, long awaited, notebook, outbursts. Then we have 16-year-old, homework, stiff back, forthcomings. What are all these words? Think for a moment. These words are one single word, one single word with a hyphen in between the words, which are making them actually two, which are making them into two parts. Now, homework. Let's take homework for an example. Homework. If we consider home, then it's separate one word, and if we consider work, then it's separate one word. Now what is happening? अगर हम homework को अलग अलग तरीके से देखेंगे तो home का मतलब हो जाता है घर, work का मतलब हो जाता है काम. So home is different, work is different, but when we are adjoining them together, we are combining them together, it becomes a one work, and that totally changes the meaning of it. The meaning actually becomes totally opposite. Does it ring a bell? Yes. Those words are known as compound words and compound sentences. Now, when two words are used together to form a new meaning, a compound word is formed. Now, a compound word is where two or more different words are merged. Two or even more words are merged into a new different word, and then that merging entirely changes its meaning. जो पहले उसका meaning था, अब that will be entirely changed, right? The smaller words that form a compound word are like a puzzle. I'll draw here. Excuse me for my drawing, my skills are very bad. Now, smaller words that come, these are smaller words, and then this is a huge big word, right? So these smaller words, they fit in here just as a puzzle and entirely change the meaning of the entire word. Take the words milk and shake. Milk का अलग मतलब होता है, shake का मतलब अलग होता है. But if we combine them together, we get a milkshake, a sweet drink, a sour drink, isn't it? Yes. You may look at this picture for your reference. Now observe. Observe what is happening, what conversation is there. Observe the conversation, the words which are highlighted in pink color. You know, bowed to tears, tested the water, fish out of water, raining cats and dogs. So think, is it even possible to rain like cats and dogs? No, actually not. Rain occur when we have tiny droplets of water on the ground surface. But actually what is being referred to as here, over here, it's raining cats and dogs. That means these are idioms. Now what are idioms? We'll discuss it further, right? These are idioms. A idiom is a phrase. Phrase, two or more words make a phrase, or expression that typically presents a figurative, non-literal meaning. Phrase hoga, but it will not have a literal meaning. There will be some other meaning which is attached to it. But some phrases become figurative idioms while maintaining the same meaning of the phrase. If you are finding it quite difficult for understanding this, break these definitions into small chunks. Chunking is very much required in order to understand important and difficult definitions. Now, categorize the language. Idiom figures meaning is different from the literal meaning. This is the absolute simplest definition. जो आपको देख के लग रहा है phrase का मतलब वो actual में नहीं होता. It's quite different. Now this girl is having head in the clouds. Think practically for a moment. Is it even possible? It's not possible. So we can see her head is above the clouds. That means सच में उसका head cloud से ऊपर नहीं है. That means she is very happy. My cheeks are falling off. Now that doesn't mean कि this thing is getting separated and they are falling on the ground. No, that's not the case. Actually, the food is so delicious. He's eating so grumpily that his cheeks are falling off, right? So these are known as idioms. And idioms, compound words, compound sentences are, elaborately used in Anne Frank's. If you go through the text carefully, you'll find such idiomatic expressions. And don't worry, we are discussing this in the further video. Yes, here it is. So experts from Diary of Anne Frank, and now we'll talk only about idioms which are used exclusively by Anne Frank. Our entire class is quaking in boots. This was the very first sentence from her diary, The Dearest Kitty. Now, our entire class is quaking in its boots. If I translate this into Hindi, I'll say, उन टीचर को देख के हमारी पूरी क्लास थर-थर कांप रही थी. Oh, but actually it's not. The entire class is quaking in boots, means shaking with fear because of the maths teacher, Mr. Keesing. Until then, we keep telling each other not to lose heart. Not to lose heart मतलब दिल निकाल लो कि तो हम सांस कैसे लेंगे? We'll die. But here, not to lose heart means दिल छोटा मत करो. It's okay. दिल को बड़ा रखो. To enlarge your heart. To let it go. All those negative feelings. Now, Mr. Keesing was annoyed with me for ages because I talked so much. For ages? How can even it be possible? She was hardly 14 to 15 years old. And how can he be annoyed with her for ages? Now, for ages over here represent for a longer period of time or for a longer duration of time. And the last one was Mr. Green was trying to play a joke on me but sure the joke was on him. He was, can you play someone with a joke? We play basketball, we play football, we play physical activities, but actually can you play a joke? It's practically not impossible. But the literal meaning is that teacher was trying to play a joke on me, but teacher was trying to joke me. उन्होंने मुझे एक हंसी का पात्र बना दिया. But the joke was on him. But actually what happened? The joke was directly on him. So this brings the end of the lesson. Class 10th, 4th chapter, Anne Frank from NCERT textbook. This video will be helpful for all those who are from 10th standard CBSE schools, and also if you require some sort of notes for upcoming preparation of exams, right? So we have discussed about Anne Frank, her background in detail, about her experts from the diary, and all those grammar composition parts which were there in the lesson. So if you have any other doubt which is related to this video, or if any other doubt which is related to this chapter, you may comment down there in the comment box. So till then, goodbye, take care, and keep watching the space for more other videos.